So today we will be discussing about chronic hepatitis C virus infection. In the decades of 60s and 70s, initially we only knew about two types of hepatitis infections. The one was infectious hepatitis or the hepatitis A, and the second one was hepatitis B, also known as serum hepatitis at that time. Subsequently, people started realizing that there were patients who have with hepatitis infection. It was transfusion borne, but the patients were not having hepatitis B. So it was named as non-A, non-B hepatitis. And subsequently in 89, hepatitis C virus was detected. So we have started diagnosing hepatitis C since 1989, and initially these patients were called as non-A, non-B hepatitis. Currently the global prevalence of hepatitis C infection is 2 to 3%, and maximum cases are in China, followed by India, then Egypt, Pakistan, Indonesia. So these are the countries where the maximum number of patients are there. As the transmission source is concerned, the most common source of infection is injecting drug use, which amounts to around 60% of the transmission. Another route of transmission is the sexual route, then the transfusion related, and transfusion related was more common before the universal blood screening for hepatitis C and B was started, and India this universal screening for blood was started in 2002. So anybody who has got blood transfusion or transfusion of blood products before 2002, he is susceptible for hepatitis C virus infection. Then the occupational exposure, and in the occupational exposure to the mainly the healthcare workers, which are prone for infection through needle stick injuries. As far as perinatal transmission is concerned, from mother to child, this transmission occurs only in 6 to 7% of the cases. So as far as the transmission through injecting drug use is concerned, if we compare the transmission route, transmission percentage with HIV, hepatitis C, and hepatitis B infection, but we find that the risk of transmission through needle stick injury in HIV is 0.2 to 0.5%, whereas in hepatitis C it is 3 to 10%, and in hepatitis B, if the source of infection is E negative patient, then it is 1.1 to 6%. If it is E positive patient, then the risk of transmission through needle stick injury is 22 to 24% or to 40%. In developed countries, in case of injecting drug use, IV drug use is the most common, and in our country it is the unsafe or irrational therapeutic injection which is important for majority of the injecting drug use transmission for hepatitis C virus. So most important transmission is through injecting drug use, and then transfusion, occupation, and sexual routes. Now, what does hepatitis C virus does in the body? The hepatitis C virus infects the hepatocytes, it infects lymphocytes, both B and T cells, and other tissues where it can be seen are the pancreas, adrenal gland, and bone marrow. As I told in earlier classes, it is not directly cytopathic to the hepatocytes. It does not kill the hepatocyte directly. It is an immune mediated injury which leads to hepatocyte lysis and then fibrosis and cirrhosis ultimately. So once somebody gets an hepatitis C virus infection, so what is the clinical course? in about 15% of the patients there is resolution of the infection, and majority of the times this infection is asymptomatic. Acute infection is asymptomatic, and 15% they get complete resolution of the infection, whereas 85% they progress on to develop chronic hepatitis C. And those patients who get chronic infection over the period of 20 years, 20% they develop cirrhosis and then end-stage liver disease, and either they receive transplant or they die. And patients who get cirrhosis, they also get hepatocellular carcinoma. Now this progression of hepatitis C infection to cirrhosis, it is accelerated if there is co-infection with hepatitis B virus infection or HIV, or there is simultaneous alcohol consumption. So if there are two injuries, then the rate of progression of cirrhosis is increased. Now clinical presentation, how the patient will come to you. So majority of the times the patients come are asymptomatic. Even the acute infection is, majority of the times it is asymptomatic. Rarely a patient will get acute hepatitis like presentation. Many times the patients are worked up from pre-operative workup or some medical examination, and then they come out to be serologically positive for hepatitis C. A patient has come with the range liver function test, and once you are investigating the etiology for liver function test, you come out patient is having hepatitis C positive. Or patient has undergone some imaging like ultrasound or CT scan, some other purpose, and then he is incidentally detected to have cirrhosis, and then you look for the etiology, then you come across that this particular patient is having the etiology for cirrhosis is hepatitis C infection. And then in the later stages of cirrhosis, patient may first time come to you with a feature of decompensation, and those features are ascites, upper GI bleed. It may be the first time presentation. Patient first time presenting with ascites, first time presenting upper GI bleed or jaundice or encephalopathy, and then when you work up this patient for these symptoms, they may come out to cirrhosis, and then etiology of cirrhosis worked out, the patient are having hepatitis C virus as a cause for hepatitis C cirrhosis. Now once this hepatitis C enters the body, so what are the serological and biological laboratory features of chronic hepatitis C infection? This time is the ALT enzymes and others, this site in the time course. After around 2 to 4 weeks, the HCV RNA start appearing, and up to 4 weeks the enzymes they start rising. They usually go up to 10 to 15 times upper limit of normal, and by 6 weeks they start coming down, and by 10 weeks the infection is over. The enzymes they come to baseline level, and then there is fluctuation of the enzymes. The antibodies like anti-HCV, they appear around 6 to 8 weeks of infection. So the first to appear after the exposure to hepatitis C is hepatitis C virus RNA, then comes ALT, and then come the anti-HCV. Now these anti-HCV antibodies, they are going to persist in their lifelong. Even if we treat the patients or even the body clear the virus itself, then the RNA will disappear, but these antibodies will persist throughout life. So anti-HCV persists for life, and HCV RNA positively tells about the active infection in these patients. So if anti-HCV is positive, RNA is also positive, then your patient is having hepatitis C infection. It can be chronic hepatitis C infection, it can be acute hepatitis C infection. Antibodies are positive, but RNA is negative, then it can be resolved hepatitis C infection, means patient has spontaneously resolved or he has been treated earlier, so there is no RNA, there is no active infection, and antibody, as I told you earlier, that it remain positive. Another situation, it can be just the earlier infection. In the acute C infection, sometimes there can be anti-SCV positive and RNA can be negative for some period, and this does appear in some of the patients. So whenever we are in doubt that the anti-SCV is positive and RNA is negative, so as I told you that it may be a treated patient or it may be a spontaneous resolution. So in order to confirm it, you repeat RNA after 3 months. So if RNA again is negative after 3 months, then it is a resolved infection. If it becomes positive, then it may be that it was a phase of low viral viremia in these patients. That anti-SCV is negative but RNA is positive. So this can be just the initial phases of acute infection, early acute infection. And in immunosuppressed patients, the RNA may be positive but anti-SCV is negative. So these are the situation in immunocompromised patients, especially the patient on hemodialysis. Most common situation encountered is in case of hemodialysis patient. They have got enzymes raised, but when you do anti-HCV, it is negative. So these patients, they should be subjected to RNA testing, and both anti-HCV RNA are negative, then you are dealing with no infection with hepatitis C. So make the diagnosis of hepatitis C, to confirm the diagnosis. So whenever you make a clinical suspicion of hepatitis C, the first test is anti-HCV antibody testing, and if it is positive, then you go for HCV RNA, and if RNA is positive, then it confirms the active infection of hepatitis C. Sometimes, as I told you, anti-HCV may be negative, so still you are suspecting there is unexplained liver disease and patient is immunocompromised. In that situation, you can, despite anti-HCV is negative, we can directly go for HCV RNA to confirm our diagnosis, even in the absence of anti-HCV. But routinely, first is anti-HCV, and then if it is positive, then you go for anti-HCV RNA. The other investigations, once you have confirmed the diagnosis, we look for hemogram. Then, because we are going to treat these patients, so we need to have a baseline hemogram, otherwise these HbTLC, they will be normal. But if there is a cirrhosis, as you know that in cirrhosis there is platelet count will be low. LFT, liver function test, should be done to note the baseline status. Then the prothrombin time, INR, to look for the synthetic function of the liver. And APRI score, that you know the AST over platelet ratio. As I told you earlier, I have shown you that it is a very easy score. Just on the basis of AST and platelet count, you can know whether your patient having significant fibrosis or not. The renal function test to look for the kidney functions, and then ultrasound or fibroscan to look for the liver. What is the status of liver? Because we know that hepatitis C lead to fibrosis and cirrhosis, so we want to confirm what actually is the status of the patient. Is the liver is cirrhotic or not? So for that you need ultrasound or fibroscan, because on the basis of this your treatment duration and the type of drugs, they differ. So ultrasound or fibroscan is must to look for the fibrosis. But even APRI score, if these things are not available, then APRI score can also be taken help. So once you have made a diagnosis and now you want to treat the patients, so this is the evolution of hepatitis C treatment. As I told you that in 1989 we came about to know about this virus. Initially we only had interferon and only 7% patient could be treated. Then ribavirin was added to interferon. Then we come out with pegylated interferon with ribavirin. Then protease inhibitors were added. Thus efficacy of treatment further increased. The nucleus analog were added, and then in 2015 onwards we all are non-interfering interferon related drugs. So these are also called as directly acting antiviral drugs, and since 2015 onwards the hepatitis C treatment, there is a paradigm shift in the treatment of hepatitis C with the efficacy of around 93 to 100% with the current drugs. With the interferon, there were some issues of injections, then side effects like fever, myalgia, anemia, thrombocytopenia, and these decompensated patients with decompensated cirrhosis were not eligible for interferon treatment. So decompensated cirrhotic with hepatitis C infection were not eligible for, they did not have any choice of antivirals at that time. So drugs for hepatitis C treatment, these are the genome of hepatitis C and their structural core proteins, and here are the non-structural proteins. So these non-structural proteins, they are synthesized for the normal synthesis of the virus. So we have got drugs which are acting at protease inhibitors, which are inhibiting the serous protease enzymes. So these are the drugs. Just to enumerate them, you need not to worry about them. NS5A inhibitors, these are ledipasvir, declatasvir, velpatasvir, elbasvir, they are acting at this particular site. And NS5B inhibitors, they are acting at this site. These are sofosbuvir, mercitabine, dasabuvir, satrovir. There are so many drugs, protease inhibitors, NS5A and NS5B inhibitors. For you, for practical purposes, we should be knowing about sofosbuvir, the declatasvir, velpatasvir, and ribavirin. So these are the drugs which are used for the treatment of, currently used for the treatment of hepatitis C out of all these drugs. So the drug treatment of hepatitis C, for treatment of hepatitis C, we divide these patients into three categories. The first category is the patient who have got no cirrhosis. Second category will be the patient who have got a cirrhosis but is a compensated cirrhosis, and third category is the decompensated cirrhosis. So the duration of treatment in all three categories remains same, it is 12 weeks, but there is a difference in some drugs. And so for non-cirrhotic patients, the treatment is declatasvir 60 milligram and sofosbuvir 400 milligram, and it is given for 12 weeks. In compensated cirrhosis, we give velpatasvir and sofosbuvir combination for 12 weeks. And for decompensated cirrhosis, we give velpatasvir, sofosbuvir, and ribavirin. So three drugs are given for decompensated cirrhosis. The ribavirin, here the dose, we have to adjust the dose because of the side effects of this ribavirin, mainly the anemia part. So the decompensated cirrhotic, they have many reasons for anemia, so they should be started with a lower dose, and then this ribavirin dose should be adjusted in these patients. So the dose of ribavirin will vary in these patients. So once we have given this drug for these to these patients of hepatitis C, so when should these patients be declared as cured? So to declare this patient as cured of hepatitis C virus infection, we have to demonstrate sustained virological response. So what is this sustained virological response? Once, before starting the treatment, here this side is HCV RNA and here is the duration of the treatment. So the HCV RNA is high in the start of the treatment. Once you start treating these patients, there is a fall in HCV RNA and it remains negative. After 12 weeks, you stop the treatment. So this is the end of the treatment. We have given the antivirals for 12 weeks, and here is the end of the treatment. So after the treatment is stopped, for next 12 weeks, for next 3 months, we will not be giving them any drugs, but after 3 months, we will test this patient for HCV RNA. So this is called virological response, SVR, sustained virological response at 12 weeks. So if RNA is negative at 12 weeks after the treatment is stopped, so it is called SVR 12. If it is negative, then only the patient is declared as cured of hepatitis C virus infection. So it is very important to demonstrate sustained viral response in hepatitis C virus infection. Some side effects of these antiviral drugs. One is mainly the ribavirin. Ribavirin causes anemia, and there is a black box warning about the childbearing age, woman in the childbearing age, because it leads to fetal defects. And directed antiviral drugs, there are some minor side effects like fatigue, joint pains, nausea, headache, anxiety, dry skin, rashes. Some can have itching and photosensitivity. What about prophylaxis of hepatitis C virus? As I have told in earlier that we don't have any vaccine for hepatitis C virus infection. So another thing about the post-exposure prophylaxis of hepatitis C virus infection, whenever you get a needle stick injury, and the most common scenario. So what should be done in that scenario? Post-exposure prophylaxis. So we should check the baseline anti-HCV and LFT levels to confirm what is the level of the individual who have got needle stick injury, whether he is already C positive or he has already got some LFT derangement. Then after that, HCV RNA should be done at 4 weeks. That, as I told you, that first to appear after HCV infection is HCV RNA. So HCV RNA should be tested at 4 weeks. If HCV RNA is negative at 4 weeks, then it should be repeated at 12 weeks. So even after 12 weeks it is negative, then it is unlikely that the transmission has occurred. So we have to demonstrate transmission of hepatitis C virus. So the first you do HCV RNA at 4 weeks, repeat it at 12 weeks. So if it is positive at 12 weeks, then it means transmission has occurred. So we have demonstrated a transmission. So again we can wait for another 4 to 8 weeks for spontaneous clearance, because we know that in 15 to 20% of the patients there can be spontaneous clearance, and then still it is persisting beyond that period, then we treat this patient with antiviral as in other cases with sofosbuvir and declatasvir. With this we come to end of hepatitis C.